Welcome to EPG Padasala. I am Dr. K. Mavali Rajan, Department of Ancient Indian History, Culture and Archaeology, Vishwabharati, Shantiniketan. The paper Economy History of India, the modules titled Economic Conditions under the Hoysalas, Shonas and Kakatiyas. Before starting my lecture, I would like to explain the importance of economic history of that particular period. South Indian dynasties, particularly the Hoysalas, Sonas, and Kakatiyas, they realized the importance of the trade and commerce, the importance of the agriculture. So they took keen interest on the development of the economic resources for the improvement of the lifestyle of the people. So they also concentrated on the development of the commercial activities. My learning objectives of this module to know about the economic condition of South India during the Hoysala, Yadavas and Kakatiya period. My study also to focus on agrarian pattern, to study about the land cultivation pattern, to understand the various forms of irrigations and the method of the irrigation for the purpose of agricultural development. For agricultural development, the Hoysalas, mainly the Kakatiyas, they are supported for the construction of the irrigation sources. Various industries also which developed in good manner in the Kakatiya period. Trade and commerce, especially the internal and external trade, were flourished. The taxation and the Hoysalas, Soinas, and the Kakatiyas were very popular. They collected the several sources from the people to increase the revenue of the state. These are the maps which shows the Hoysala territories as well as the Adavas of Tevagiri territories of the South Indian dynasty. This map shows the Kakatiya kingdom and their boundary line between the South Indian dynasties. The significance of the present study. The Hoysalas and Sonas and Kakatiyas they realized the need for improvement of economic resources. They paid much attention to the expansion of the agriculture. They pursued their economic policies in four directions. The first direction was they brought many waste land under cultivation. The second one, they supported for the construction of many water tanks. The thirdly, they undertook many reclamation activities to bring the wasteland under proper cultivable lands. The fourthly, they formed a new settlement in villages, the new settlements which lead for the agrarian changes in the village level. Active trade and commerce improved the economic condition of the state of the Hoysala, Shonas and Kakatiya period. Now I would like to emphasize the agriculture and its background during the three dynasty period. Agriculture, we know very well, it was the source of the people. It was mostly the kings, they paid keen interest on the development of the agriculture. The state administration of the Hoysalas, Sonas and Kakatiyas sustained itself through agriculture and its product. Land grants were made to the Brahmins, Jains and individual. These land grants donation which brought many the uncultivable land become cultivable lands. Generally, the wetlands were donated to the Brahmins, to the individual Brahmins, to the educational institution, which brought the uncultivable lands become a cultivable land. In addition to the grants of the land, clearing of forests for cultivation also viewed constructively. It brought not only a new sources of revenue to the state, but also created job opportunities for a number of landless people in the Hoysala and Kakatiya period. Mostly landless labor involved in clearing the forest and cultivation process of the country. Mostly, there are many landowners we can find in the Kakatiya period. Mostly, the highlands were suitable for the cultivation as well as the cattle farming. The paddy and corn were cultivated in plain regions. They were both rich landlords and small farmers in Hoysala regions. The rich landowners were called Gauda or Gaunda. Among the Gaundas, both higher and lower we find in Kannada inscription. Praja Gaundas were lower in status than the wealthy Prabhu Gaunda. Apart from these, the land-owning community, we can find some of the tenants cultivator as well as the landless, the agricultural community during the Kakatiya and Hoysala period. During the Kakatiya period, mainly we find many of agrarian changes in the cultivation process. The Kakatiya brought large number of the uncultivable lands under cultivation. They built many tanks and digs wells for the promotion of agricultural products. The king, the members of royal families paid much attention on the development of agriculture. Often, the king patronaged to the economic development of the state. Apart from the members of royal family, the rich landlord of the society also encouraged the patronage. This enabled the extension of the cultivation as well as the extension of the agricultural product. As rightly said by Scindia Thalpat in his right, he writes that during the Kakatiya era, inland Andhra economy underwent considerable growth due to the extension of agriculture into uncultivated territories. The boosting of agricultural productivity through the construction of irrigational facilities and overall rise in trade and commerce in which the temple as an institution was ultimately intervened. On the basis of the statement, we can clearly understand that the Kakatiyas specially paid much attention on the agrarian expansions as well as the promotion of trade and commercial activities. In the agricultural product, mainly the lands were divided into a different divisions. Mainly during the Kakatiya period, the records of the lands are referred in various technical terms in Kakatiya inscription, which were referred as Kshetra, Nila, Bhumi, Senu, Polamu in Kakatiya inscriptions. There are also some references, some kinds of land in inscriptions of the Kakatiyas as well as the Hoysala dynasty. The inscriptions mentions different kinds of land based on the condition of the soil and its suitability. On the basis of the available evidences, mainly on the basis of the inscriptional evidences, the lands were divided into a number. The Krishna Chetra, it is the first division, which means a block soil which very much suitable for cotton cultivation. Then Bamtura Ketra, it is also suitable for paddy cultivation. Uppu Bhumi, it's a salty soil. Udupu Bhumi, a land actually under the crop cultivation. Kotanila, land newly brought under the cultivation. Metunula, it's a rocky soil. It is unfit for the cultivation of any crops. There are also different kinds of the land during the Kakatiya period. The land suitable for building of houses were called Griha Kshetra. The pasture lands were called Brahmajenu, Kamsi Bolumu. these temples were when called as the Koshakishanu, Delgulusenu, Divyashenu, and other a different aspect. In addition, the arable lands may be divided into three kinds. On the basis of the availability of the water resources, the lands were divided into three parts. One is the wetland, it is called Nirnala. Dry lands, it's a Velipolamu, and the garden lands, it's Tomtopolamu. These divisions based on the crop cultivation as well as the availability of water resources. So, on the basis of these, the kind of the lands, the wetland mainly they cultivated a different varieties of the paddy. In the dry lands, they cultivated some minor millets. In the garden lands, they cultivated mostly the garden product like the coconut, ginger, and other garden products. The kinds of the lands which were mostly it's irrigated by means of water from a tank, canal, well, etc. Mostly rice, sugarcane were grown in the wetland. In dry lands, crops like millet, shisham, indigo, mustard, castor were grown which needed less water. In garden lands, horticultural products like petal leaves, petal nuts, coconuts were cultivated. Forests and pasture lands were kept under for mainly for the cultivation of grazing only. There are many epigraphical sources speaks about the system of cultivation. It also speaks about the rotation of the crops, whether it is a double or single, which we get it from the inscription sources of the Kakatiya period. According to the double crop cultivation, there was one harvest in the month of Kartika, it is in winter season, another in the month of Vaishakha in the summer season. Under the single crop system, there was only one harvest in either of these months. It's mostly the cultivated a different varieties of the food crops and was as well as a different variety of the agricultural based raw materials. Then we'll discuss about the irrigation system of the Hoysala period, Yadavas period as well as the Kakatiya period. The cultivation of various crops, proper irrigation arrangement is much important. The Kakatiyas and Koilasas paid much interest and attention to improve the agricultural potentiality. Through constructing the tanks, wells and canals, they brought many wasteland under cultivation. There were different kinds of irrigation methods which we find very extensively during the Hoysala and Kakatiya period. Mostly the tank irrigations is familiar in both the dynasties. Canal irrigation also very popular. Well irrigation also they used for the irrigation of the cultivable lands. Apart from these kind of the general divisions, mostly the Kakatiyas and Hoysalas, they use the river water for the cultivation of their agricultural product. Mostly the rivers Tungabhadra, Pennar, Krishna and Godavari, which they provided a cultivable zone in the Andhra Desha. There are many number of the rivers belt are in important potential zones for agricultural productivity of both the dynasties. People used these fertile rivers for the irrigation of their land. Through the irrigation pattern, they cultivated more number of the agricultural product and it's relating the raw material from the agricultural land. Mostly in the irrigation system, the tank irrigations which was very familiar, mostly the royal also supported for the tank construction, the people also they supported for the promotion of the tank irrigation system. Except the fertile river zone, The rest depend upon the storage of water in tanks and wells. Every village in the control had one or more tanks. The tanks were built and maintained at the expenses of local villagers. King supported the villagers to construct the tanks. The village tank was also called Cheruvu in Kakatiya region, Sahara in Koisala regions. The villages and state supported the construction of the new water resources. On the basis of the availability of the water sources, the people promoted their irrigation system. Mostly, we get large number of evidences in inscriptional sources during the Kakatiya as well as the Hoysala period that the kings supported the irrigation development of the state. The construction of tank is one of the seven acts of merit during the Hoysala period and Kakatiya period. The Kakatiyas were the first to realize the importance of red and sandy soil of Telangana was extremely fertile and suitable for wet crop cultivation. Knowing the importance of the fertility of the soil, they conceived the idea of constructing large number of the water sources for the promotion of the agriculture and its agricultural product. They rendered their full support for the construction of the large scale water resources for the development of the agriculture system. There are many inscriptions speaks about the royal patronage. The inscription gives us information on the tank construction. The Pahala tank in Nalgonda district was constructed by Jahadala Mummudi, a minister of General of Kanabadi Deba. Ramappa Lake was constructed by Rudra Reddy. Mailama of Kakatiya dynasty constructed the Bayaram tank. The Pradap Charida mentioned different tanks were constructed by the popular king of the Kakatiya, Kanabadi Deva. He constructed the many water tank in the different parts of the Kakatiya dynasty. Even we can get some of the evidences from the inscription of Rudrama Devi, Pradapa Rudra Deva. They also constructed many water tanks in the Kakatiya territory for the promotion of the agricultural product. These are the temple which Ramappa temple at Warangal. Near the temple we can find a water tank which were constructed by the Kakatiya dynasty. A tank irrigation inscriptions speaks about a number of the tanks with suffix of the Samudra, Seruvu, Thiruvu, Kere or Kereya. The term Samudra refers to tank. Seruvu may be a village tank. The Kreya may be a Kannada equivalent for a village tank. There are also some references for the tank irrigations in inscription. The inscriptions mention of the following term as a tank which Samudra and Seruvu. There are some list of the inscriptional evidences which speaks about the Keshari Samudra, Udaya Samudra, Joda Samudra, Malla Samudra, Vishwanatha Samudra, Lakshmi Samudra, Rama Samudra, Langagiri Seruvu and Samisetti Seruvu. So these are some of the few examples for the tank irrigation during the Kakatiya period. Apart from this, there are also we find the canal irrigations during the Hoysala and Kakatiya period. The canal were constructed to bring water from the river. A Hoysala record of 1330 AD mention of a channel drawn off from the Yoksi river. There were hydraulic engineer known as Jalajutrada during the Hoysala period. They promoted the water sources as well as the the technology of the construction of the water resources during the Hoysala period. These engineers brought the waters of Yangtze River by a channel to supply water in the capital city. There were also constructed sluices to carry water from the tanks to the agricultural field. Apart from the canal irrigations, there are also, we find some references to the kalvas, that is mean the sluices, which the sluices also known as tumus in Andhra inscription. Kulpak inscription of 1278 AD says the construction of a canal by a Vamasamtravarna Kalva in the name of a king. Another inscription speaks of the a construction of a canal by a Malaya Kauda. The Nalagonda Balli inscriptions of it speaks about the a Choda constructed a sluice for the promotion of agriculture in the territories. Apart from the tank irrigations, the canal irrigations, we also find references for the well irrigations. Some inscriptions speaks of the well irrigation of the Kakatiya period. A Gundur inscription referred to the construction of a well by a Malla. Another inscriptions record the construction of a well by Malaya Kada. From these kind of the sources, we also get the references to the lifting of water from the well. They use the different mechanism to lift the water from the well sources. There are also then some inscriptions which refer to the use of Yetam, which was the water lifting pulley for lifting water from well. These lifting of water, it helped the farmer to irrigate their land. On the basis of these kind of the royal support as well as the construction of the main water resources, it promoted the state's agrarian changes. During especially the Kakatiya king Prataparutra extended cultivable land by cutting down the forest and the wasteland. He brought many virgin soil under the cultivation. The temple construction also led to the growth of the new settlement who brought uncultivable virgin land into cultivation. By this process of tank construction and temple construction, the Kakatiyas achieved twin objective. The first one objective, the improving productivity by bringing new areas under cultivation. Another one, formation of Andhra as a regional society, which is mainly noted by a famous writer, Scindia Dalpat. On the basis of these the ideas, we can formulate that the royal support we can find in the Kakatiya and Hoysala period. The royal, they were supported for the promotion of agriculture as well as the promotion of the agricultural product. Now we discuss about the trade and commerce of the Hoysalas, Kakatiyas and Yadavas of the South India. Both the dynasties they involved in trade and commercial activities. Mostly they involved very actively in internal trade transaction. There were many urban centers in the Kakatiya region that is mentioned in the inscription, that is Hanumagonda, Meduku, Bhuvanagiri, Kolanubaha, Rahakonda, Devarkonda. These are some important commercial centers there which well connected with the other commercial centers of the other dynasties. Mostly in the commercial centers, the merchant guilds used to live. They had their own the association in the name of the association name. They remained on important in the history of the South India. Apart from the internal trade, They also involved in the commercial transaction. In the commercial transaction, the merchant guild played vital role. The economic activity was convened by the merchant guilds like Nana Desis and Bekanru or Veera Balinjas. They are very powerful, the merchant guilds during the Kakatiya period. They played a significant role in the inland commercial transaction, and they involved in export and import of marketable commodities in the urban centers. There are many references we'll find in the Kakatiya period. The Kakatiya period, the trade was carried on by well organized guild organization. Epigraphical sources give references to of the guilds of weavers, agriculturalists, oil pressers, mat makers, the smiths, potter, and jewelers. They had their own guild organizations, as well as they formulated their rules and regulations for the functions of the guilds and their activities. The guild obtained a license to conduct business in a particular town or fair from a state. The merchandise were transported by means of a different means of the transportation, mainly they used the carts, the horses, and other, even some they used also boats, barkies through the rivers Godavari and Krishna. Often the commodities were purchased and sold, mostly they exchanged by a potter within locally available the commercial goods. The commercial goods, when we discuss about in local markets, many commercial goods were sold. A Kakatiya inscription notes the agricultural products offered for sale in Warangal market included rice, wheat and other grains, vegetable, coconuts, mangoes, tamarind, oilseed, mustard and other the agricultural product they sold in the village markets. Now we discuss about external trade activities of the dynasty. Trade with overseas kingdom reached high level in Kakatiya and Hoysala period. The Hoysala had trade relation with Chinese kingdom. The Sung dynasty chronicles from China mentioned Indian merchants in ports of South China. The Chinese interest in Indian astrology and alchemy is well known from the Chinese sources. South India exported mainly the textile material, the spices, medicinal plants, precious stones, pottery, salt made from the salt ponds, jewels, gold, ivory, rhino, ebino, and other material to China. In addition, aloe wood, sandalwood, other perfumes, and it reached the western port like Siraf, which was the entry port to Egypt, Arabia, and Persia. They also exported some of the goods to the Persian country. They imported some of the goods from the Persian and other Egyptian world. The external trade, the import of horses from foreign country was a flourishing business during the Hoysala period. Arabs made wealth from the unending need for horses from Indian kingdom. Rich forest product like teak wood was exported through the ports of present-day Kerala. Inscription of Hoysala dynasty mention a flourishing textile trade and other the trade activities of the Hoysala dynasty. In external trade, the Kakatiya recognized the importance of long distance trade. Travel account of Marco Polo and Mudupalli inscription of Ganapati Deva give some remarkable evidence of maritime trade activity between the Kakatiyas and the other countries. Modupalli inscriptions provide the details about the trade activities and about trade articles which involved in the maritime transaction. On the basis of the evidences of Modupalli inscription, it gives the details of about the export and import which transacted between the Kakatiya countries and other the nations. Mainly, the Modupalli was an important seaport of Kakatiyas. This port was visited by veteran traveler Marco Polo in several times. Modupalli port was called as the Shivugonda Pattinam. The Modupalli epigraph specify the rate assessed on a variety of items including the sandal, camphor, rose water, ivory, pearls, coals. It is a range of other the spices also exported to that countries. This above list give you an idea of important the imports as well as the export from the Modupalli port to other Indian regions along with the foreign countries. There are also, we can find in the export and import of the Kakatiya period, the Kakatiya state was actually involved in both export and imports. They exported the article like the sandalwood, camphor, the peppers and other materials to the foreign countries. The silk and silk goods, China camphor, rose water and horses were also imported from the Burma, Ceylon, China and the East Indies and Arabia, finally from the Persia and Egypt. There are many the port centers we can find in the Kakatiya period. Apart from the Modupalli, there are also we find some seaports, that is Krishnapattinam, Janagaranjam, Nellore, Devi, also a important port center which played a vital role in the fostering seafaring trade. Thus, flourishing agriculture and surplus product of the Kakatiyas and Hoysala and Yadavas of Devagiri, it's lead for a kind of the economic changes during those dynastic period. Now we discuss about the taxation policy of the Hoysalas and Yadavas and Kakatiyas. In the taxation policies, the land tax played vital role. The king had every right on lands and entitled to levy land taxes. In Hoysala period, land revenue was called Siddhaya. Levies were collected in proportion to Kula. In Hoysala times, the revenue system was very complicated. The main source of income of the state was the productivity of the soil. The state collected some share from the total produce of the land of the people. So, the people paid the variety of the taxes. Mostly during the Shaunas, the term Ubarikara was referred to the tax on agricultural product, which applied to items such as petal leaves, fruits, vegetable, flowers and grass. The landowners paid variety of the taxes to the state. It include land taxes, produce taxes, payment of the overhead for the maintenance of the state land. Land taxes were varied. They paid both in case and kind. The taxes under the Hoysala period, we find several terms of revenue in Hoysala inscriptions such as Irai, Tere, Vana, Nimandi, Thanda, Dandaya. These are the some technical terms which we get it from the Hoysala inscription. Taxes were levied on the professional groups and agricultural transaction. The carriers of the domesticated animals also taxed by the state of the Hoysala period. These are the some of the taxes on commodities like gold, precious stones, perfumes, sandalwoods, residence, then soaps, some of the cattle bonds, sugarcane presses, the produce like black pepper, and other spicy item also, which conditioned to payment of the taxes during the Hoysala period. The state levied different other taxes. Tax levy on cattle was called Palavana. Loom tax was called Mekadera. Tax on oil pressure was called Ganadera. Soap tax was called as Kadaidai. Manetera was a house tax. Navidatera was a tax on barber. Kumbarateva was a tax on potter. The fines also collected from the defaulters during the time of their punishment. Apart from these Hoysala taxes, the taxation under Kakatiya also the important sources for the revenue of the state. We get very scanty information about the names of various taxes in Kakatiya inscription. They levied different taxes like land tax, tax on grazing land, property tax, income tax, professional tax, marriage tax, tax on herds of sheep and tax on salt, which filled the treasury of the Kakatiya period. For levy tax on agricultural land, they surveyed and measured the land. The state collected 1/4 to 1/2 of the produce as revenue from the agricultural product. The land tax under the Kakatiyas, it's very familiar. The revenue was collected either in cash or in kind. The land tax collected from wetlands were called para and from drylands were called as Pangamu. The Pangamu, according to Telugu dictionaries, means 1/4 part of the rent from the agricultural product. The para mean probably 1/8 part from agricultural produce. The general term for land tax was Ari. Choluvu and Selika Bhumi also the one important references we get it from the Kakatiya inscription, which means it is the land which newly brought under cultivation, which also become a taxable land during the Kakatiya period. There are some other taxes also collected by the Kakatiya states. They assessed tax for forest and pasture lands. During the Kakatiya period, some conventional customary taxes also collected from the people. There are some references of Tarishanamu, Abanamu and Ubarikridi were some of the traditional taxes which collected by the state, particularly by the kings of the Kakatiya during their special visit, during their offering as the king's donations. There are some of the other sources we can find from the other materials of the Kakatiya period. These sources give the richness to the Kakatiya revenue system. Another income of the Kakatiya states was Pullari, tax on pasture land. The tax Pullari was collected on cattle grazing on the state pastures. Beside these taxes, there were customary fees in money or in goods or gained from the Melulu or Varadanulu. These fees were collected periodically or occasionally from the people. Next to the land tax and other conventional tax, the Chola state also collected taxes from the trade and industrial groups. These were collected as the custom and excise duties. The custom duties were collected on articles of merchandise brought to and taken from the petas or market towns. These tolls, custom duties, which tax collected on articles of trade, including salt, were formed out of merchant guilds on the payment of a fixed sum of to the state. If we conclude the taxation policy of the Kakatiyas and Hoysalas and the Sonas, they collected a different variety of the taxes to increase the revenue of the state. When we conclude the lecture, There are many significant changes we find during the Hoysala, Kakatiya and Yadava period. The economic condition of South India during these three dynasties, which was very much agricultural based. They paid much attention on agriculture, which was the main occupation of the people. They employed tank irrigation to provide water for cultivation. Their trade and commerce flourished. The state had right to impose tax on the people, especially on agricultural land, especially on the trade and commerce, especially on the other traditional and conventional methods. The arable lands belonging to the private individual, they had to pay land tax to the state, which formed the backbone of the state revenue. The custom and excise duties were also important source of revenue for the Kakatiya and Hoysala state. Through the collecting the various kind of revenue from the people, they enriched the state economy, which became very prosperous and self-sustained during the Kakatiya, Hoysala and Yadava period. Thank you very much for watching the video.